The gym is my sanctuary. 5 a.m. cold steel and the burn in my muscles. It's the only place I feel like I have complete control. Today, though, the iron's heavy. My mind elsewhere. Sarah, my wife. 8 years. And something is fundamentally, terrifyingly wrong. I slam the barbell back on the rack, the clang echoing in the pre-dawn silence. Sweat stings my eyes. It used to be seeing her face was the motivation I needed, and I went hard at work building my body. I built her up. I brought her flowers, gifts, words of affirmation. She's always been driven. That's what I told myself. Ambitious. Maybe even a little ruthless. In a way I admired. Back when I was naive enough to think it was all directed outward, towards the world, towards her career. Now it feels like that ruthlessness is aimed right at me. I'm Mike, by the way. 32. Construction. Not glamorous, but honest. I started scraping mud off boots, and now I'm running sites. $1 million projects. I built that life for us, brick by goddamn brick. And Sarah? Sarah's the blonde bombshell realtor. The type you see plastered on bus benches, all teeth and promises. When we met, she was slumming it at a dive bar, surrounded by her preppy friends. I was fresh from a site, covered in dust, still wearing my boots. No act. I've never been good at bullshitting. I didn't try to impress her. Maybe that's what hooked her. Or maybe I was just a novelty, the blue-collar guy in her perfectly curated world. Whatever it was, it worked. We dated, we fell, or at least I thought we did. Then came the ring, the vows, the house. A sweet apartment, city view, the kind of place you dream about. We scraped together the down payment, and I used the inheritance from my grandpa. Michael always keeps some money hidden, he'd said, his voice raspy. You never know about women. Should have listened to the old man when he was alive. The apartment. Now, that feels like a loaded gun pointed right at my head. 6 months ago, the cracks started showing. Subtle at first. Sarah, suddenly obsessed with women's empowerment seminars. Weekends dedicated to networking, finding herself, unlocking her potential. I wrote it off as midlife crisis bullshit. Now, I see them for what they were, planning sessions. Then, the paperwork obsession. The mortgage, the deed, the boring legal jargon. Just curious, she'd said. Her eyes a little too bright. Property documents are my thing, remember? I'd nod, trusting her. Idiot! The night it all crystallized, I can still feel it in the pit of my stomach. I got back from the gym, pumped from a new personal best on bench. Sarah was on the couch, laptop open, all business. Babe, she said, that fake sweetness dripping from her voice. I've been looking at our mortgage rates. I think we should refinance. Babe, she hadn't called me that in months, not without wanting something expensive. She showed me numbers, graphs, all the realtor jargon. Your credit score isn't as good as mine, she purred. If we put it under just my name, we could save hundreds. I sat there, sweaty, my gut screaming at me. What about my name on the deed? I asked, trying to keep my voice even. She waved it off. Casual, too casual. Oh, we can add you back later. It's just a technical thing for the bank. You trust me, right? That line, you trust me, right? That was the nail in the coffin. Sarah was never this manipulative. It wasn't her style, and that's when a chill washed over me. I played along, nodded, said we'd look into it. But inside, my mind was a whirlwind. The seminars, the late nights, the whispered phone calls, it all started to click into place. The gym is no longer a sanctuary. It's a battleground. Each rep is a question mark, a doubt, a wave of anger. How could she? After everything? The next few weeks were a slow burn. I became a detective, a spy in my own home. The act was exhausting, but I couldn't let her see me sweat. Years of hard work and sweat went into building the empire we have. I wasn't about to lose it to her now. The seminars. I had to know. I called Tommy, a concrete guy on my crew. His sister's into that whole girl boss scene. Turns out, These weren't your typical networking events. They were financial freedom meetings, run by some guru named Jennifer. Her specialty? Securing your independence during divorce. Real classy. I felt sick. Sarah, meanwhile, was getting bolder. Late nights, flimsy excuses. The clients wanted a sunset viewing. Paperwork took longer than expected. One night, she reeked of expensive cologne. Not my Old Spice. This was the kind of scent that cost more than a week's worth of groceries. From the house, she said, too quickly. The owners have one of those automatic sprayer things. Right. And I'm secretly moonlighting as a brain surgeon. The real punch to the gut came courtesy of Tommy. He showed me a picture on his phone. His girlfriend had snapped it at some fancy restaurant. LeBlanc or something pretentious like that. And there she was, Sarah, dressed to kill, sitting close to some guy in a $1,000 suit. They weren't discussing mortgage rates, that's for sure. The guy? Brad Thompson, one of the top divorce lawyers in the city. Billboard fame? Make your ex pay. The kind of guy who makes a living tearing families apart. He charges like $500 an hour. I didn't confront Sarah. Not yet. Patience. Construction had taught me that. Build the foundation strong, then watch the rest crumble. But I started watching. Changed phone passwords. Separate laundry hiding that cologne smell, no doubt, a new gym. Not mine. Some fancy place downtown right next to Brad's office. Subtle, Sarah. Real subtle. The apartment refinancing bullshit intensified. Paperwork accidentally left on the counter. Mortgage rates, deed transfers. One day I came home early, a rain delay on site. I caught her on the phone. Yes, I understand. No, he doesn't suspect anything. The transfer should be clean. I have all his information. Yes, I can handle the signature. That was it. Enough! I called Jack. Jack isn't your typical lawyer. More like a bouncer with a law degree. Ex-military, built like a tank, with a scar above his eye from amateur UFC days. I met him at the gym. Spotted him repping heavy on bench, we got to talking. He specializes in divorce and fraud. Fate has a strange sense of humor. I showed Jack everything. The refinancing papers, the phone call, Tommy's photo. He just cracked his knuckles, a grim smile on his face. Mike, he said, your wife isn't just planning a divorce. She's trying to pull off a property fraud scheme. And her boyfriend? He's done this before. Jack pulled up sealed records. 3 other cases. Wives mysteriously getting houses transferred right before filing. All Brad's clients, all the same method. Forged signatures, rushed transfers, quick sales. But none of those houses had prenups, like ours did. Jack hired Maria, ex-cop pie, doesn't take shit from anyone. She started following Sarah and Brad, building a paper trail. Within a week, she had enough dirt to bury them both. Photos, audio recordings, emails, security footage. Bank records showing a secret account. And the crown jewel video from a fancy hotel. Sarah and Brad planning the whole thing. Going over documents, talking about a quick sale, a split of the profits. They thought they were so clever. Once it's in your name, Brad said on the recording, he can't do anything. These construction guys never read the fine print. Joke's on you, Brad. While all this was going down, I had to keep up the act. Sarah was getting bolder, working late, buying expensive shit. New clothes, a new Mercedes. Company car, she said. Right. One morning, the bank called. Fraud department. Sarah had tried to move our entire savings account to a new one, in her name only. Thank God I'd already moved most of it to a separate account, on Jack's advice. But here's where Sarah screwed up royally. That prenup. Her daddy insisted on it, remember? Jack found a beautiful little clause. Any attempt to transfer, hide, or deceive about marital assets forfeits all claims to shared property and alimony. By trying to steal the apartment, Sarah violated the very prenup her own father put in place. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Jack was building a massive case file, 3 inches thick. But we waited. Why? Because Sarah and Brad were getting sloppy, arrogant. They started meeting openly at a wine bar. One of my crew guys even saw them making out in Brad's Porsche. Real classy. Maria got photos. Sarah going into Brad's house. Them shopping for furniture for that condo they were planning to move into. Even looking at rings. Upgrade wife. One day I was at the gym, deadlifting. Text from Maria. They're meeting with a document forger. Getting it on video. Sarah and Brad hiring some shady dude to fake my signature. Cost them 10 grand. Maria got the whole thing, including Brad explaining how they'd file the paperwork. The next day, Sarah came home practically skipping. Babe, she said, the refinancing is done. The apartment's secure now. I nodded, grabbed my protein shake. Inside, I was laughing my ass off. That night, Jack called. Mike, he said, we got everything we need. And brother, it's beautiful. Tuesday morning. I remember it so clearly. 3 trucks of the wrong size lumber. Subcontractors arguing about timelines. The usual construction chaos. Then, a text from Sarah, we need to talk when you get home. It's important. I knew it was coming. Jack had warned me. Maria spotted Sarah picking up paperwork from Brad's office the day before. But knowing and feeling it are 2 different things. I got home, and Sarah was waiting. Serious business face. Hair perfect, tight black dress I'd never seen before. Brad's doing, no doubt. Sitting at the kitchen table, a manila envelope in front of her. Mike, she said, her voice quiet, serious. I think we need to make some changes. I stood there, still in my boots and high-vis vest, covered in dust. Didn't say a word. Let her dig her own grave. I've been doing a lot of thinking, she continued, and I just don't think this marriage is working anymore. We've grown apart. You're so focused on your construction work, and I'm really expanding in my career. The nerve of this woman. 8 years, and now my blue-collar job is beneath her. Meanwhile, she's planning to steal my apartment and run off with a married lawyer. I think we need to separate, she said, sliding the envelope across the table. I've already drawn up the paperwork. It's very fair. I get the apartment, since it's in my name now, and you can keep your truck and your gym equipment. How generous. She steals our home through fraud and thinks letting me keep my F-150 and some weights makes it fair. She started laying out her plan, thinking she had me cornered. I've already listed the apartment. There's a lot of interest. We could close within a week. Once it sells, I'll give you 10% of the proceeds. Considering. I cut her off. She flinched. Considering the apartment's legally in my name, I don't have to give you anything. I just told her, okay, we will meet in court, and left to sleep in my friend's house. Thursday morning, courthouse. My best suit, clean haircut, despite being at the job site since 5 a.m. Jack was already there, 3 massive binders of evidence stacked on the table, like it was Christmas morning. Then Sarah walked in. All white designer pantsuit, probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. Hair and makeup perfect, designer heels. Smug smile on her face, thinking she was about to clean me out. Brad was next to her, in a suit that screamed, I bill $500 an hour, looking like a shark that smelled blood. The judge, older lady, glasses perched on her nose, looked like a stern librarian. She starts going through the preliminary stuff, and Brad stood up, confident, smooth. Your Honor, he said, this is a simple case. The apartment in question is solely in my client's name. Mr. My last name has no legal claim to the property. We're willing to be generous and offer him his personal belongings and vehicle, but the apartment and its equity clearly belong to Miss S. Last name. I glanced at Sarah. She had that little smirk, probably already planning how she'd spend the money. That's when Jack stood up. I swear I saw him wink at me. Your Honor, he said, all casual. Before we proceed, I have some evidence I'd like to present regarding the property transfer in question. Brad waved his hand dismissively. The property transfer is complete and legal. All paperwork was properly filed. Jack's smile got bigger. Oh, I'm very interested in that paperwork, particularly in how it was filed. The judge nodded, and Jack started laying out photos on her bench. With each photo, I watched Sarah's face get paler. These photos, Your Honor, show Miss S. last name and her associate, Mr. Thompson, meeting with a known document forger on March 15th. We have video evidence of the entire transaction, including the exchange of $10,000 in cash for forged signatures. Brad jumped up. Objection! These photos could be anything. The judge peered over her glasses. Mr. Thompson, sit down. I'd like to hear this. Jack pulled out a USB drive. Your Honor, we have audio recordings of Mrs. last name and Mr. Thompson planning this entire scheme. Would you like to hear Mrs. last name explicitly discussing how to forge her husband's signature? Or perhaps Mr. Thompson advising her on how to hide assets before filing for divorce? Sarah was starting to shake. Brad was tugging at his collar. But wait, it gets better. Jack pulled out another file. Additionally, Your Honor, we have evidence that Mr. Thompson has engaged in this exact scheme before. 3 previous cases, all following the same pattern, wives mysteriously getting property transferred to their names through forged signatures, right before filing for divorce, all with Mr. Thompson as their attorney. The judge took off her glasses. Mr. Thompson, she said, her voice cold. Are you aware that facilitating fraud is grounds for disbarment? Brad started stammering about unfounded allegations, but the judge cut him off. And Mrs. last name, are you aware that forging signatures on property documents is a federal offense? Sarah stood up, probably thinking she could charm her way out, like always. Your Honor, there's been a misunderstanding, Jack interrupted. Oh, we're just getting to the good part. Your Honor, I'd like to direct your attention to Exhibit C, the prenuptial agreement. Sarah froze. Brad looked confused. Guess he never actually read that prenup. Section 7, Paragraph 3. Jack read clearly states that any attempt to fraudulently transfer or hide marital assets results in immediate forfeiture of all claims to shared property and requires the offending party to pay all legal fees. The judge was reading along, nodding. I see. And this prenup was properly executed? Yes, Your Honor. Ironically, it was Mrs. last name's father who insisted on it. That's when Sarah lost it. Just completely lost it. Started screaming about how I set her up, how this wasn't fair, how she deserved the apartment. Brad was trying to shut her up, but she was on a roll. He tricked me, she shrieked, mascara running. He knew I was seeing Brad. He had us followed. The judge banged her gavel. Mrs. last name, control yourself or you will be held in contempt. But Sarah wasn't done. She spun around, pointing at me. You bastard. You planned this. You and your meathead lawyer. Jack just stood there, grinning. Your Honor, I'd like to note for the record that Miss S. last name just admitted to the affair in open court, which, according to Section 4 of the prenup, is another violation. The judge had had enough. Order, Mr. Thompson, given the evidence presented and your apparent involvement in this fraud scheme, I'm referring this matter to the Bar Association. Miss S. last name, this court finds your actions not only reprehensible but criminal. The property transfer is hereby nullified. Sarah collapsed into her chair, crying for real now. Brad was already packing up his briefcase, probably racing to call his own lawyer. But the judge wasn't finished. Sarah just had her meltdown in court. Brad's looking like he's about to puke in his $1,000 loafers. And the judge is about to drop the hammer on both of them. The judge takes off her glasses, looks straight at Sarah. Miss S. Last name. This court rarely sees such a blatant attempt at fraud. The evidence presented here today shows not just deception, but a calculated scheme to defraud both your husband and this court. Sarah tries to pull herself together, fixing her mascara with shaking hands. Brad's already got one foot out the door, but the judge isn't having it. Mr. Thompson, sit down. We're not finished. Then she starts listing off everything they're going to face. 1. The apartment transfer is completely void, like it never happened. 2. Sarah violated the prenup in 3 different ways: fraud, adultery, and hiding assets. 3. She's responsible for all legal fees. Jack ain't cheap, by the way. 4. The judge is referring the whole case to the DA's office for criminal charges. But here's where it gets even better. Remember how I mentioned Brad's wife earlier? Well, guess who walks into the courtroom right at this moment? This absolute smoke show of a woman in a red dress, looking like she's about to commit murder. It's Mrs. Thompson. Let's call her Rachel. Turns out Jack made sure she knew exactly when our hearing was scheduled. Brad goes white as a sheet. Literally, looks like he's seen a ghost. Sarah's just sitting there, mascara running down her face, watching her perfect little plan implode. Rachel walks right up to Brad, drops a manila envelope on his table, and says, loud enough for everyone to hear, "You've been served, honey. I've got all the evidence." The judge, who's apparently enjoying this show as much as everyone else, just sits back and watches. Brad opens the envelope with trembling hands, and I swear to God, he actually whimpers. Rachel's not done, though. She turns to Sarah. "By the way, that Cartier bracelet he gave you? It was bought with our joint credit card. I want it back." Sarah starts fumbling with the bracelet on her wrist, the one I'd noticed a few weeks ago but hadn't said anything about. Throws it at Rachel like it's burning her skin. That's when Brad finally finds his voice. "Rachel, baby, this isn't what it looks like." Rachel cuts him off. "Save it for your disciplinary hearing, Brad. The Bar Association is very interested in how many times you've pulled this property transfer scam. Turns out Rachel's lawyer, who's apparently way better than Brad, found 7 other cases where Brad had helped wives fraudulently transfer property before divorce. 7! My boy Jack had only found 3. The judge clears her throat. Given these new developments, I'm adding a few items to my ruling. Sarah's practically catatonic at this point. Brad's looking like he's about to make a run for it. First, Mr. My last name is awarded full ownership of the apartment. Mrs. Last name forfeits all claims to any marital property due to her multiple violations of the prenuptial agreement. Sarah starts sobbing again. Second, Mrs. Last name will be responsible for all legal fees and court costs. Third, I'm issuing an injunction preventing her from selling or transferring any assets until the criminal investigation is complete. Then she turns to Brad. Mr. Thompson, I'm reporting you to the Bar Association today. Given the pattern of behavior evidenced here, I expect your law license will be suspended pending investigation. Brad slumps in his chair. His whole life's imploding in real time. 8 years of running this scam, and it all comes crashing down because he picked the wrong guy's wife to screw over. Sarah makes one last desperate attempt, turns to me with those puppy dog eyes she used to use when she wanted something expensive. "Mike, please. We can work this out. I'll move back in. We can go to counseling." I just laugh. "Sorry, Sarah. I don't date criminals." That's when she completely loses it. Full psycho meltdown. Starts screaming about how I ruined her life, how she gave me the best years of her life, how she could have married a doctor or lawyer. Pretty sure she tried that last one. The judge bangs her gavel. "Officers, please remove Miss S. Last name from my courtroom." 2 court officers have to practically drag her out. She's still screaming as they lead her away. "You can't do this to me. I deserve that apartment." Brad doesn't even look at her as she's being dragged out. He's too busy watching his wife, Rachel, talk to the Bar Association representative who just showed up. As they're leading Sarah out, I hear one of the court officers mutter, These gold diggers are getting worse every year. 6 months have passed. The dust has settled. Time for the final update. First, Brad Thompson, the scumbag lawyer himself. Remember how the judge referred him to the Bar Association? Well, turns out this wasn't his first rodeo. 3 other complaints had already been filed, but the cases got settled quietly. Not this time. The Bar Association's investigation found 12 cases where Brad had helped wives fraudulently transfer property before divorce. 12! My boy Jack had found 3. Rachel's lawyer found 7, but this dude had been running this scam for over a decade. Last month, they officially revoked his law license. Permanent disbarment. Can't ever practice law again in this state. But wait, it gets better. Remember Rachel, his wife? She didn't just divorce him, she destroyed him. Turns out Brad had been hiding money in offshore accounts for years. Rachel's lawyer, Absolute Savage, found everything. She got their mansion in the suburbs, his BMW collection, all their joint accounts, even his precious golf club membership. But the real cherry on top? The DA's office is pressing criminal charges against him for his role in all those fraud cases. My case was apparently the straw that broke the camel's back. He's looking at potential jail time. Last I heard, he's living in a studio apartment and working as a paralegal at some tiny law firm. How the mighty have fallen. Now for Sarah. Oh boy, where do I even start? Remember how she violated the prenup in 3 different ways? That meant she got nothing. 0. Zip. Nada. But that was just the beginning of her problems. The DA's office didn't take kindly to her little forgery scheme. They charged her with fraud, multiple counts of forgery, attempted theft, filing false documents. She tried to play the victim card in court, cried about how Brad manipulated her, how she was emotionally vulnerable, how she'd made a mistake. The judge, different one this time, wasn't buying it. She got 18 months probation, $50,000 in fines, 500 hours of community service, and a felony record that'll follow her forever. Her real estate license? Gone. Turns out having a fraud conviction isn't great for a career in real estate. Her fancy real estate agency fired her the day after the conviction. But karma wasn't done with her yet. Remember her dad? The one who insisted on the prenup? He was a big shot in the real estate world, always helping her get those premium listings. When he found out what she did, he cut her off completely. Apparently, he was disgusted by her behavior. 2 weeks ago, I was at the gym, still making those gains. Bros hit 405 on bench last week. And guess who walks in? Sarah's younger sister, Katie. She tells me Sarah's living with their mom now, working as a receptionist at a dentist's office. The designer clothes and Mercedes are long gone. The best part? She tried to beg her dad to help her pay the fraud fines. His response? You made your bed, now lie in it. As for me, life's pretty sweet. The apartment's value has gone up 25% since all this went down. I did some renovations, painted over all traces of Sarah. Jack helped me refinance it legitimately, got an even better rate than what Sarah was trying to get. Work's going great too. Got promoted to senior site supervisor, running multiple projects now. The crew loves hearing updates about Sarah and Brad's downfall. It's become a legend on our construction sites. But the real win? 2 months ago, I was at this new gym. Had to switch after getting too many DMs from guys at the old one wanting to hear the story. And I meet this girl named Jessica. She's a physical therapist, loves lifting, squats more than most guys, and actually thinks construction work is hot. We've been dating for a few weeks now. She's everything Sarah wasn't. Honest, straightforward, appreciates what I do for a living. And get this? She actually reads the documents she signs. The other day, we drove past Sarah's mom's place. Saw Sarah struggling with grocery bags, wearing sweats, and looking rough. Jessica didn't know who she was, but I did. Feels good, man. Real good. Don't try to screw over your spouse. Karma's a bitch. Prenups are important. And always have a good lawyer in your corner. Oh, and lift heavy. Never know when you'll need those gains. The sun bleeds through the blinds, painting stripes across Jessica's back as she stretches in the morning light. The gym bag sits packed by the door, ready for our dawn session. Looking at her, at the easy way she laughs, the genuine way she looks at me, it's a stark contrast to the brittle, calculated world Sarah inhabited. Even now, months later, Sarah lingers. Not in my heart, that's long gone, but in the echoes of doubt that whisper in my head. Trust is a fragile thing, like a poorly poured foundation. Easy to crack, hard to repair. Jessica turns, smiles, a flash of white teeth. Penny for your thoughts, mister. Brooding. I force a smile back. Just thinking about the gym. Gotta beat your squat record today. She raises an eyebrow. All challenge. Oh, you think you can? We'll see about that, musclehead. It's a comfortable banter. Easy. Real. With Sarah, everything felt performative. A stage play where I was constantly reading lines I didn't write. Now I can just be, but the questions still circle. What did I miss? Was there a point where I could have steered things differently? Or was the blueprint for betrayal etched long before, in Sarah's DNA, in her insatiable need for more? I pushed the thoughts away. Dwelling on them is a waste. The past is the past. I have Jessica now. I have my work. I have the gym. I have a life that, for the first time in a long time, feels solid, honest. We walk out into the dawn, the city waking up around us. The air is crisp, clean. I breathe deep, feeling the familiar burn in my lungs. Each step is forward, away from the wreckage of the past, towards something new. Still, sometimes, late at night, I catch myself staring at the city lights, and I wonder where she is, what she's doing, if she ever thinks about me, about what we had, if she regrets it. But then I remember her face in court, that smug, self-assured smirk, the one that crumbled as the judge laid down the law, the one that haunts me still, the smirk that shattered everything. And I know deep down that whatever she's feeling, she brought it on herself. I have to remind myself that if I wasn't prepared to build myself and my empire stronger, I would have nothing to prove in that courtroom, and she would have won. I will never allow that to happen again. Not to myself. I have to keep building. I have to keep growing. I have to keep going. That will always be the driving force behind my success. Her smug face and devious plan will not be for nothing. I will live my life to the fullest in order to thank her for what she has shown me. 1 week later, seeing ghosts. The project downtown is nearing completion. A gleaming glass tower, a symbol of ambition and success. It's the kind of building Sarah would have salivated over, the kind she would have hustled to sell to some wealthy client. Standing on the observation deck, surveying the city, I feel a sense of pride. I built this. I oversaw every detail, from the foundation to the finishing touches. This is my legacy, etched in steel and concrete. Jessica's beside me, her hand warm in mine. She's studying the blueprints, asking questions about the structural engineering. She actually cares about the details. Impressive, she says, her eyes shining. You really know your stuff. I grin. Comes with the territory. Suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I see her. Across the observation deck, near the coffee stand. Sarah. She's different. Thinner. Her hair pulled back in a messy bun. No designer clothes, no makeup. Just a simple dress and a pair of flats. She looks ordinary. For a moment, our eyes meet. A flicker of recognition, a spark of something. Regret? Shame? I can't tell. Her face is a mask, devoid of emotion. Then she turns away, disappears into the crowd. My heart is pounding. I can feel Jessica's gaze on me, questioning. Everything okay? She asks, her voice gentle. I swallow, trying to regain my composure. Yeah, just saw someone I used to know. I don't elaborate. I don't want to taint this moment, this place, with her memory. but the encounter lingers. It's a ghost sighting, a reminder of what could have been. Later at the gym, I push myself harder than usual. More weight, more reps, more sweat. I need to purge the image of her from my mind. Jack spots me, approaches with a knowing look. "You okay, Mike? You're pushing yourself like you're trying to break something." I grunt, slamming the barbell back on the rack. Just needed to blow off some steam. He nods, understanding. Life throws curveballs, man. Just gotta keep swinging. He claps me on the shoulder, a gesture of camaraderie. "Come on, let's hit the heavy bag. I got some new moves I want to try out." We spend the next hour pounding the heavy bag, trading blows, sweating out our frustrations. The gym is our therapy, our refuge, a place where we can push our limits, where we can forget, for a little while, the complexities of the world outside. As I walk out of the gym, muscles aching, mind clearer, I realize something. Sarah will always be a part of my story, but she doesn't get to define it. I do. Time continues its relentless march. The tower downtown stands tall, a testament to my resilience. Jessica's smile is my constant companion, a reminder of the good that exists in the world. One evening, I receive a letter. Plain white envelope, no return address. Curious, I open it. Inside, a single sheet of paper. A handwritten note. "Mike," it reads. "I'm sorry. Sarah? That's it?" No excuses, no explanations. Just a single word, sorry. I stare at the note for a long time, turning it over and over in my hands. What does it mean? Is it genuine? Is it just another manipulation? Another attempt to worm her way back into my life? I'll never know the truth. I fold the note carefully, tuck it away in a drawer. It's a relic of the past, a reminder of the pain, of the betrayal. But it's also a reminder of how far I've come. The silence that follows is deafening. I will never reach out to her. She will never call me again. We are strangers, bound only by the shared memory of what was. The apartment is quiet, peaceful. Jessica is cooking dinner, the aroma of herbs and spices filling the air. I watch her, a sense of contentment washing over me. I have everything I need. The weight of what was still lingers, but it no longer crushes me. I've learned to carry it, to use it as a source of strength. Her smirk shattered me once, but it also forged me into something stronger, something better. I am Mike, and I will keep building. I will keep thriving. I will keep living my best life. I stand at the edge of the balcony, the city lights twinkling below. It's a beautiful view, a symbol of the life I've built. I take a deep breath, feeling the cool night air on my face. The past is the past. It can't be changed, but it can be learned from. I close my eyes, picturing Sarah's face. Not the smug, calculating face from court, but the face I fell in love with. The face that now seems like a distant memory. I forgive her, not for her sake, but for mine. To release the anger, the resentment, to finally let go. It's a difficult thing. Forgiveness. It doesn't erase the pain, but it frees you from its grasp. I open my eyes, look out at the city, and I smile. I'm free! Free from her. Free from her devious ways. Free to build an even better future. A future that I now get to choose. The gym, my sanctuary, always a driving force. Jessica, my constant, always supportive. Jack, my backbone, always on my side. I finally feel safe. I finally feel free. I finally feel happy. And it's all thanks to her, too. Thank you, Sarah. You've changed my life forever.